Okay, so what do we have here? This is a 2018 Model X, which I picked up a couple of weeks ago now. It's not completely clean because obviously I've been running it for 2 weeks, so it was all valeted when I picked it up. It's just doing the self-locking at the moment because I'm walking away from it. I've got the key fob in my pocket. Now, why did I buy a Model X? Why specifically this one? Maybe I'll take you through all the details. Don't forget, the Model X has got the Falcon wing doors. Simply push the button and away it goes. You can also use the key fob and the app on the phone. And if you look at this one, you'll see we've got got the seats back, got the seats down, haven't I? There is actually some extra seats in the back there which you can't see. I'll pop those up later. So I was in the market for a new car. Previously owned a Ford S-Max, which is a 7-seater people carrier. It was a brilliant car. We'd go on holiday in it. I've got 2 kids, so we get my wife, the 2 kids, our luggage and the dog all in the car with everything we needed, and we could go on holiday in the UK. And it was wonderful. Great little car. Well, not little, it was actually quite a big car. Surprisingly spacious. It drove really well, very comfortable, nice comfortable seats. Quite quick as well. It had a 2-litre diesel engine, turbocharged, doing about 210 PS, which is, I don't know what it is in bhp, but sort of some over 200 bhp. It's actually quite a quick car, very practical. Unfortunately, it got written off. We were heading to a music festival. It was in a field. I'd stopped to turn left through a gap in the hedge into this field when some elderly gentleman decided to drive straight into the back of me at about 40 miles an hour. So it was quite a big bang. We didn't really suffer any injuries, although my wife had a little bit of whiplash. But the car itself was a complete write-off. It was completely bent. It went off and got assessed, and they reckoned it would cost 20 grand to repair. So the car itself on the open market at the time, it was a 2017 model, S-Max Titanium Sport model. It was worth about, well, it would have cost about 16 grand to buy a replacement. Used car prices in the UK are crazy at the moment. So insurance paid out about just under 15,000. And then I started looking for something similar. I started looking at SUVs like the Volvo XC90, various Audis. But in the meantime, the insurance company had given me a BMW 530e, which is a saloon car. This is for the courtesy car, whilst my car was being assessed. And it was actually a hybrid. So you could drive it for about 30 miles on the battery before it switched over to the petrol engine. And to be honest, that was working pretty well for me. I was being able to drop the kids off at school, do all my little errands, go to the supermarket, take my son to football, take my daughter to swimming, do everything on the battery that I needed to. And I hardly used any petrol. I had that car probably for the best part of 2 weeks, and I think I only put about £10 worth of petrol in. So I was really quite impressed. I was charging it up every night off the 3-pin granny charger, 3-pin plug granny charger, and it was proven to be a bit of an eye-opener. So when I started looking around at other cars, I came across obviously the Tesla Model X and the Model Y. The Model Y I didn't feel was really big enough. The boot at the back to put the dog in, she probably wouldn't have been able to fit in because she's quite large. She's a German Shepherd cross Labrador, so she's quite a big dog. She weighs about 30 kilos, probably a bit more actually. So that's why the S-Max was ideal, because it had that nice sort of square boxy bit at the back, which is like an XC90. So I did look at hybrid XC90s. I did find quite a nice one. It was 30 grand, quite a lot of money. It was quite old. It was 2016 model. But I was a bit concerned about the state of the battery and just the sheer complexity of them. And the one I found, there was no service history with it. It was a fleet vehicle, so there was fleet service history, but very little details about what had actually been done. So no Volvo main dealer history. So for the amount of money, I walked away from that deal. And then all the other ones were just way too expensive. I could have gone for a diesel, but I wasn't really interested in a diesel. I also looked at BMWs, so the X5. There's various hybrid versions. Probably the one to have is the 45e, which has got actually quite a big battery in it. I think that one was about 60 miles range on the battery. But you're looking at 36 grand upwards. I think the cheapest one was about 36. There are various other versions of that. But then, yeah, like I said, I stumbled across the Model X, which was obviously pure battery. Started looking, and I noticed prices have absolutely plummeted of used Teslas, and Model X's you can pick up for anywhere from 26 grand upwards. So the guy I saw had 3 Model X's for sale. He's based up near Heathrow. One was a white one with a white interior, which I didn't think was going to be a good idea with a dog and kids, so I completely ruled that one out. He had a blue one, and he had this grey one that I'm sitting in now. So the blue one looked better, looked a lovely colour. It was only 6 seats, so it had a gap in the middle, which I thought was quite interesting, because we could have had the dog in the gap in that row, the row behind me here. That middle seat there was basically a gap. But then I thought, well, if I don't have the kids with me, if it's just me and the dog, like I'm taking her to the vets, I've got nothing to control her. I'd have to have some way of stopping her from coming forwards, like some kind of dog guard or something. And if you put her in the boot, she can, well, there's nothing to hold her back, because there's that gap between the seats here. So I thought, well, let's go for a 7-seat model. So we had a 7-seat, which was the grey one I've got here, which was also, it was a higher mileage. So this one has got 113,000 miles. The blue ones were 60,000 miles. But the blue one was a year older. That was a 2017 model. So it only had 1 year left of the Tesla motor and battery warranty. This one I've got here is a 2018 model. So although it's got double the mileage, it's got an extra year of Tesla motor and battery warranty. So it's got 2 years left of the original Tesla warranty. Also, it's got a few more options. It's got premium hi-fi, whereas the blue one only had standard hi-fi. This one's also got premium connectivity, whereas the blue one just had standard. So you were going to have to pay £10 a month for the connectivity, unless you pair your phone or use the hotspot on your phone, which you can do, but obviously it's a bit of a faff all the time. Can't remember what else this has got. They both had MCU1 computers. To be honest, that's actually been working okay. I did have a few issues with the LTE dropping out, so it's losing data connectivity. But then I read someone saying, well, if you're using a USB drive for music, try pulling that out. And since I've done that, it's been a lot more stable. So obviously there's something going on there. I've read lots about the MCU. Apparently the memory wears out. There's a embedded memory module, like an SD-RAM or flash RAM, that's embedded, and it wears out after time because Tesla have been logging too much data to it, which they fixed now. Apparently they don't really log as much data, but unfortunately the chip wears out, and it's quite a big job to repair it. So a lot of people just upgrade them, but it's quite a big upgrade. It's about, I think it's about 1,500 quid or so, maybe more, because they swapped the screen and the computer and everything. So yes, so I bought it, and so far I've been really happy. I had to put 4 new tyres on because the tyres are all worn. So the guy did knock some money off for that, the dealer. The rear tyres in particular, the camber means that they wear on the inside edge. It's quite a common trait with Model X's. So if you're going to buy a Model X, just check, really check the inside edges of the tyres, because mine were worn down to the quads. And also I've got an issue with the steering. Let me just flip the camera around. So if we look here, so the car's not going to go anywhere. I've got my foot on the brake. Oh, you can't really tell, but there's quite a bit of, there we go, just here. So you can turn the steering wheel before you can feel the steering engage. So it's quite a bit of play. Now the dealer said that that's more than likely a worn universal joint on the steering column, and there's a lower shaft. I think it's called an I shaft. There's a lower steering shaft you can get which replaces that universal coupling, and it's just basically worn. So he knocked some money off for that as well. So I'm going to get the car inspected and see what they say. So if we just move on to the MCU, they call it MCU, means media. I can't remember what it stands for now. Console unit or computer unit. It did actually get a software upgrade recently, so we're running 2004 26.3.1, which was the latest software that came down just the other day. It also then triggered a navigation update. You can see it's got the enhanced autopilot. That's not the full self-driving, but it has got auto steer, and you can see the premium connectivity. If we go on to additional, well, you can see my VIN there. Oh, well, never mind. You can see the mileage as well. So the thing is with the mileage, you got to try not to let high mileage scare you, because obviously with an electric car, there's no engine or gearbox. There's a lot fewer components to wear out. So that's why I wasn't too bothered about the mileage. Obviously you've got suspension components that can wear out. So I'm going to get, like I say, I'm going to get the car checked, get a health check done, just to check what state the suspension's in. Also, the car this one didn't come with a CCS adapter, so I've since had that fitted. Again, the dealer paid for that, and you get a lovely CCS adapter like this. So that plugs into the car, and then the CCS charge handle plugs into there, which opens up a lot more charging stations for you to use. What else we've got? We've got oh yeah, the cold weather package. So we've got I think they call it Sub-Zero. We've got steering wheel and wiper heaters. Yeah, okay. Let's look at the enhanced autopilot. So this is what the enhanced autopilot gives you. Okay. So I've not actually. Oh, it's got summon. Yeah, I've not tried that yet. Summon mode. I've not actually tried the auto steer, but it's got adaptive cruise control, so it will speed up and slow down. I don't know whether that's part of the standard package. And this 2.5 computer thing, there's different versions of autopilot, because it uses different, you've got various cameras around the car, and then there's the premium connectivity. My son's just arrived. Okay, let's go for a little drive then. Just going to drive home. So first thing we do, put it into drive, brake releases, and off we go. And you can hear how quiet it is. Just obviously you've got to get used to the fact there's no engine. Haven't got the stereo on at the moment. It depends on the charge level. So for a car that's 6 years old and done 113,000 miles, actually it feels all right. You can't hear any knocking from the suspension. You got to remember, this is a heavy car. It's a 2.5 ton car. This particular model has got the 100 kilowatt battery, so it's the performance model, so it's a P100D. So the P stands for performance, 100 is the battery size, and then the D stands for dual motor. Now probably what you want to do is try and aim, if you're going to buy a Model X, is aim for either a 90 or a 100, because those are the ones with the bigger battery. They did do one which was a 75, but that's not going to get you an awful lot of range. And there was an even smaller one, I think there was a 60. I think it actually had a 75 battery, but it was down rated to 60. You want to avoid that completely. So I've been on some long runs on this one already, and I think I've been getting about 120 miles, and it used up about 50% of the battery. So that means then you should be good to get about 240 miles. Now, you won't get the whole 100%. Although it's 100 kilowatt hour, I think you're only 95 kilowatt hours is actually usable. So probably more like 220 to 230 miles range. And that's obviously driving it quite gently as well on motorway traffic. If you're just driving it around town on small roads and stop and starting all the time, you're not going to get very good range at all. But there's all sorts of things you can do when you're driving. You know, you can use regenerative braking to slow down. So you've got one foot driving, and you can slipstream other vehicles like big trucks, keep your speed down, and just sort of maximise the range. Okay, let's put the brake on. There we go. Okay, let's check out the back row seats. So you can see here we've got 3 seats in the middle. On this model, these seats actually fold down. On the 2016 Model X I looked at, the seats individually move, but you'll have to watch out because they don't actually fold down, which obviously limits the practicality. So to get into the back, simply press this button. You can see the seat moves forwards. Then we can just step in. There we go. Oh. So there's the window. You have to watch out, there is a bit of a low roof here, but you can see my head is nicely positioned. I do actually have some leg room. It's actually not too bad. You probably won't want to stay in here for hours, but you know, I'm 6 foot and I've managed to get in, and there's space for another one there. Certainly more room in the back than on my S-Max, believe it or not, although you can't really move your head very far because you'll bang on this bit of trim here. These seats aren't adjustable, I don't think. No. Let's just flip the camera. There we go. So we've got those seats. So this actually works really well for my son when I'm taking my son to football, or he's you know, I'm picking him up from town and he's out with his mates. Because obviously you can get 7 people in here. So me, my son, and 5 of his mates. You try doing that in any other car. Something else to notice, in the back here you've also got 2 cup holders, and see if I can record it. See that? Just there. A USB slot, so they can charge their phone. Right, now let's see if I can get out. Not too bad. Got the suspension raised at the moment because I had to come over quite a big hump. So if you lower the suspension, it'd be a lot easier to get out. There we go. So let's fold the rear seats down. So to fold the rear seats down, you've got a button there. That pushes down. There we go. And now plenty of room for the dog. In fact, what you probably want to do is move the back row back a bit to give her less chance of moving around. So there's a lever here. There we go. And it's on this side as well. There we go. So those seats are back now. There's less room there for her to fall down. I've actually got a cover that will go in here, like a keep all the slobber and hair off it. Okay, there's a button up here where you can press these buttons as well. 2018 had different style buttons. The 2016, 2017 models had a funny like little lever on there, which was a bit confusing to use. So just press that and it will close. There we go. Okay, so let's talk about servicing. Now, when you buy a Tesla, all the servicing is done through the Tesla app. So you can book the car in. It'll either go into a Tesla service center or a mobile technician will come out. So I've had to use that to get the CCS adapter installed because there's a little electronics board that they have to install. So the dealer I bought the car from had already ordered that through the app, put my address on it. So the engineer came to my address, fitted the electronics and left me the CCS adapter, which I showed you earlier. So that's all working well and good. Now, as I mentioned previously, I've got some play in the steering wheel. Now, the dealer reckoned that that's a universal joint on the steering shaft that's worn and it just needs replacing. The shaft needs replacing. But I wanted to get the car checked out as well because I don't know what I've bought. I don't know anything about these cars, like most people. I mean, you read some horror stories on the internet, especially about the Model X and those falcon wing doors that you saw earlier. There's a sensor inside the door panel. It uses, apparently it's some kind of glue that is stuck to the inside of the door panel. It's some kind of ultrasonic sensor. Because obviously it has to work through the skin, through metal, to detect any objects. If it detects an object, then it won't open the door, or it'll only open it partially. So there's been reports of doors hitting garage roofs and things when that sensor fails. And what seems to happen, especially on hot days, if the car's left in really, really hot sunshine for days on end, is the glue softens and the sensor drops down to the bottom of the door, falls off. So basically the sensor stopped working, which means, you know, you could be in a car park, try and open those doors and it could hit the car next to you if there's not enough room. Now those doors are designed to open in the same amount of space as a traditional door opening. And you can quite easily check that by seeing how far open the door opens before it swings up. But those sensors are required to stop it hitting things above, you know, like if you're in a multi-story car park, for instance. So I've not had any issues like that. Lots of people have talked about lots of squeaking and rattling from the inside of the car. I don't seem to have any of that. The car, from what I can tell, seems to be quite well put together. I haven't noticed any issues with the body panels or any gaps. There's no dents or dings. There's only a couple of tiny scratches on the boot. But you know, the car's 6 years old, so it's not going to be perfect condition. The wheels, it's got the 20-inch alloys on. There is some scraping on the alloys. They've been curbed a few times, it looks like. So I might get those refurbished. The dealer did actually knock some money off for that. Like I said earlier, I've got the tyres replaced. Now, this car does have an option of 22-inch wheels, but you lose some range with 22-inch wheels because obviously they're heavier. They've got a bigger rotational mass. It takes more energy to rotate those wheels. So if you're concerned about range, you want to stick with the 20-inch wheels. You'll probably find that tyres might be a little bit cheaper as well. Now, tyres are expensive, no doubt about it. If you go for like Michelin's or Dunlops or Goodyear's, any of the big brands, you're going to be paying probably over £200 each. So I went to my local tyre dealer, and we had a look, looked at some budget tyres and mid-range tyres, and he actually found some called GT Radial. I'd never heard of GT Radial before. They do specific EV rated tyres, so that's what I went for. The Model X has two different tyre sizes. Let's see if I can remember what they are. They're 255 45/20s on the front and 275 45/20s on the back. So they are big fat tyres. So four tyres, GT Radials, for me it worked out about £670, including VAT, including fitting, including wheel balancing. So that was all in price. £670 I thought was actually pretty damn good. And they've got quite a good noise rating as well. So they don't sound particularly noisy on the road. So far I've been quite pleased with them. I don't see any point spending like, you know, getting like 1,400 quid. I mean, if you went for a big brand tyre, you'd be looking at double that price probably. And they're going to wear out at the end of the day. Well, I suppose, you know, you could argue that they might stick to the road better, but it really depends on what you're going to do, you know. So back to servicing. Yeah, so I wanted to get the car checked out. So I booked it in rather than use. It turns out, okay, so my nearest Tesla service centre is Reading, and it turns out the Reading service centre is now closed. So all there is now is a showroom. I've not actually been there. This is just what I've read. Apparently, they had a lot of staffing issues, lots of problems. There's even a video on YouTube where they admit to having staffing problems, which causes obviously lots of delays and upset customers. I don't know why they've decided to close it, whether it's due to that or some other issue. I don't know where my nearest service centre is, but it turns out there's actually an independent Tesla specialist not far away from here in a little place called Padworth, literally 10 minutes up the road from where I live. It's actually called Berkshire Fiesta Centre, and they've got a little jingle where their adverts go, Berkshire Fiesta Centre. Hear it on the local radio all the time. Now it looks like they've started specialising in Tesla. So I turned up this morning. I booked the car into for a health check. They said they'd have a good look around it, and because when I spoke to them about the steering play, they thought that might actually be the steering rack rather than the universal joint. Obviously, if it's a steering rack issue, you could be looking at a lot of money there. If it would need replacing, I don't know whether they're repairable. So booked it in, took it up there. They dropped me off at the hotel next door for a coffee. Said it would take them about an hour to go through everything. Sure enough, an hour later, they gave me a call with a big long list of things. Like, oh God. So sat down with them and went through it all. So yes, they have confirmed that the steering universal joint does need replacing. They said it's very badly worn and should probably be replaced fairly soon, or well, that should be a priority really. So that's basically the lower eye shaft. Now the part for that, I think they said, was about £180 from Tesla. Only Tesla make them. You can't get a third-party part. It also needs new rear brake pads. They said the brake pads are 85% worn. So we're going to get those done as well. Now the expensive bits are all the suspension bushes are worn. Now they said that the suspension bushes on my car have never been changed. Now apparently you can't change the bushes because of the way Tesla manufacture the suspension arms. You have to change the arms, and the bushes are in there. Now on a traditional car you can push the bushes out and put new ones in, but he said, to be honest, once you've factored in the labour to do that, it's not actually that much cheaper. Now the suspension arms are quite expensive, it seems. I think the one he showed me on the screen was about £200 just for a single arm. But you can get aftermarket ones, third-party parts, which are a bit cheaper. So I've asked him to have a look to see if he can find them. So what he said it needs, on the front, there's 4 sets of arms, near side and offside. I've got it on my laptop here. Front, lower, rear arms, and the front, lower, front arms. So arms on the front and rear, either side of the strut. And I think the strut attaches to one of them. So they all need replacing. So that's 4 arms. And also there's on the back, there's 2 links that go between the arms on the back, which have got the bushes in. Those all also need replacing as well, on near side and offside. So that's 2. So that's 4 suspension arms and 2 suspension links on the back, rear brake pads, and the steering universal joint. And then with all the labour, he said the total amount would be £1,610.50 plus VAT. So once you add on VAT, you're looking at probably near £1,900. So yes, ouch. That was I mean, it's not a great surprise. Obviously, it's quite expensive, but he said, look, the fact is, this car's done 113,000 miles, and it's nothing unusual. He said the bearings, the bushes are always going on these cars. It's quite normal. But they've clearly not been done on my car. And the way he can tell is apparently Tesla made a bit of a design mistake, when they build the cars. They put a bolt in to connect one of the arms up, almost like the wrong way round. And then when they mount the battery pack is against the head or whatever, the bolt, and you can't actually get to it. You can't disassemble it because the battery pack's in the way. So it says they actually have to get like a grinder and I don't know what they do. Somehow they grind it off, or cut it off to get the bolt out, and then they can pull the parts, the arms apart, because he says what people do when they replace them is they put them in backwards, put them in the other way around. So obviously it makes them a lot easier to disassemble in the future. And that's how he knew they hadn't been done before. So, but he said they are very, very worn. And the trouble is, he says, because of the way the servicing works through the app, if you use Tesla, when you buy a Tesla, you don't actually get any service history. Tesla won't. Well, I don't know if you ask them, but when you move the car over onto the app, there's no service history. You can't check it. I don't know whether Tesla are kind of trying not to release that information due to General Data Protection, the GDPR regulations. I mean, they could anonymize it, or put receipts in the app. Of course, you don't know whether someone's actually used Tesla. They might have gone to a third party, like I've decided to do. So obviously there's a bit of a sting there, but I did get the car for what I considered to be a good price. I paid £26,400 for it. You go on eBay, Auto Trader, and you'll find most of them are more expensive than that. Anywhere. I mean, I saw one the other day which was the same age as mine, and it was 36 grand. It's 10 grand more. Obviously lower mileage, but I think 26 grand. The prices are plummeting at the moment. So whether they're going to keep falling or whether they're going to plateau at the moment. I mean, my car's it was like 100 grand plus new. That option on there to have the 3 seats in the middle row, that's a 4 grand option to have that. So I think you get a lot of car for the money. So let's just summarise and wrap up then. I think if you're in the market for a Model X, there's really no need to be too scared. Don't be too worried about the battery. I think there's a lot of evidence out there now that says these batteries, they don't go pop after 6, 7, 8 years. They'll keep going. There's plenty of videos on YouTube of people with Teslas with 400,000 miles on the clock, still going strong. I watched one the other day as a guy, a taxi driver, has got 2 Model S's, both of them with like 400,000 miles or so on, still going strong. So don't worry about battery degradation. The real the range that they quote is unrealistic anyway. So I think so long as you get over 200 miles, you're doing well. And let's face it, like, how often do you drive 200 miles without a break? So all you have to do is when you take that break, you stop for a wee, a bite to eat or a drink. If you stop at a service station that's got a Tesla supercharger, you just plug in. By the time you get back to the car, you'll be topped up again. And you don't need to go all the way up. You don't need to top all the way up to 100% or 80%. You only need enough juice to get you back home. But the superchargers are so quick that honestly, by the time you've gone and had a wee, queued for a coffee, got a bite to eat, you can come back to the car and it will be ready. You honestly don't need to worry about that. The supercharger network's brilliant, works really well, so easy to use. You don't need to fanny about with all these third-party chargers and multiple apps, and they're cheaper as well. I mean, normally you pay about 44p a kilowatt hour at a Tesla supercharger, whereas if you use, say, a BP Pulse or a Shell charger, you're looking at 70 or 80p a kilowatt hour. So Tesla's, the supercharger network's like half the price, and they're everywhere now. They're all over the place. So don't worry about that. Don't worry about the range. Don't worry about the battery. Obviously, there's no engine, no gearbox to worry about. If you can get something like a 2018 model, you've still got a couple of years warranty left on that. Like I say, as you can tell from my experience, really it's probably going to be mainly suspension issues you'll have. I mean, it's a big, heavy car. Those bushes, they're going to wear out. If you've got no evidence that they've been changed, you should probably assume that they will need changing, especially on a high mileage car. But even on something like a 60,000 mile car, they might still need changing. Those bushes do wear out. So you might just have to be prepared for a bit of cost. I mean, I can't actually tell that my car needs them done. There's no rattling or knocks or anything. I mean, the only indicator probably was the wear on the tyres on the inside edge, because obviously the geometry is all out because the bushes are worn. So I will have to go and get four-wheel alignment done once all the bushes have been replaced, just to make sure that the tyres are going to wear properly. It's quite a common issue anyway. So yeah, so if you're buying from a dealer, you could maybe try and negotiate a bit of a discount if there's no proof that the suspension's been done. But once that's been done, as long as everything else works, all the electrics and electronics look okay, and those Falcon wing doors open without issue. I've heard reports that they leak, but mine don't leak. Got no problems there. You could try and take a watering can with you, I suppose, and pour water over the car just to see if any of those seals leak or have worn. But I don't have any issues with mine. So once I've got the suspension all sorted, should be good to go for a few more years. And then who knows what happens? I'll run it into the ground, or even if it keeps depreciating, it's always going to be worth something. So maybe 3-4 years time, maybe it's worth 10 grand. I don't know. I could keep it running. There are companies now also that specialize in repairing those battery packs. So even if the battery is on its way out, if I don't get it replaced by Tesla, because they need, they'll only replace it if it's got less than 70% capacity left. So it's quite a big drop. Then, there are firms out there that will specialize in repairing the cells. It might cost a bit of money, a few grand, but they're a lot cheaper than replacing the whole pack. And then you get to keep driving the car. Really, no need to worry about the mileage, because like I've keep talking about, there's nothing really to wear out other than suspension. Maybe there's an oil change in the drive unit, because obviously there's no gearbox, but there are some gears to reduce the RPM of the motor down to the wheels, and obviously provide the gearing. So there'll be some oil in that gearbox. In fact, I didn't ask the specialist about that, the Berkshire Fiesta Centre. So that's something I'll ask them about when the car goes in for some work for the steering joint and the brake pads. I'll get that done first. I'll ask them about that, and maybe I'll do a follow-up video in a little while's time where I can cover that, and also any how my experience has gone so far. Okay, so till next time, adios and take care. Bye bye.